Hello, I'm EXTLICAT and welcome back to the episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I'm playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the Xbox, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And today, we're watching a sunset because, you know, I was just watching it, I figured it was so beautiful, I had to share it with all of you in today's Let's Play episode so we can go to sleep and work on one of the big builds, which I'm finally going to be finishing today. Although actually, sometimes when we say we're finishing stuff, we get like 99% finished, but today I think we actually are going to be 100% finishing the netherrack cube, the huge gold farm slash cube thing that doesn't properly seem to work on bedrock, but is a lag fest regardless. It's a really interesting thing, and today we're going to be finishing it off, and I hope you all enjoy today's video while we do that, because there's some other big things that we usually like to talk about, and in this case, I wanted to respond to the whole thing about, like, I guess the ex-girlfriend Disneyland thing. I guess the ex-Disneyland girlfriend thing would be a more understandable thing to most people, so we're going to be talking about that and a whole bunch more of things that have been going on in the past week, as always, because if you don't know, if you haven't ever seen Let's Play before, one, welcome to the series. It's impressive that this is your first one. You know, you picked episode 372 as your start, like, brave decision. And two, yeah, this is, you know, it's a combination of working on this survival world, which I've been doing for about 6 years, with a little bit of talking about whatever's been going on in the past week. Because, I mean, obviously, like, every week is slightly different. I mean, actually, that goes without saying, doesn't it? Like, wow, did you know every week is different to the last week? It's almost as if time passes in there. But, yeah, in this particular, you know, week's episode, we're going to be working on the netherrack cube while I talk about what's been going on the past week, because as you can see, this thing is so close to completion. I just needed to finish the ceiling, but before I finish the ceiling, I wanted to finish all the obsidian. And although there's a few bits of obsidian left to do, which hopefully you will be placing in today's video, it mostly is at this point just about like, okay, now we've got all the portals done, let's place the ceiling in, and let's try and make sure there's some natural light coming in, which is where the glowstone comes up. So the reason I'm going to be very careful right now is because I want to be really, you know, I guess careful about counting the number of blocks that we actually have from one side of this to the other. I want to make sure that we find the middle point of this netherrack cube so we can place the glowstone in central locations. I made the mistake with the portals, or I don't know if it's a mistake or a necessary decision, but because this cube is 50 by 50 by 50, which sounds like a really nice number until you realize that you can't have a middle point for nether portals, and basically everything in this past a certain point is offset by 1, and if that makes no sense to you, then just long story short, I messed up a little bit, and if you, the moment you spot something that's messed up, like these portals, which are very slightly incorrectly aligned after you go past the center, you never start unseeing it, and I figure, just to avoid that happening at the ceiling, let's go through some effort, and that's what we're doing today. So, did you see that happen, by the way? Oh, it looks like the nether portals render in or out when you get too far away from them, maybe? But yeah, so yeah, this is a lag fest. Things are going to look a little bit crazy in this area of the world, but that's just a necessary consequence. Anyway, I've got a bunch of netherrack. We actually can finish it today. I'm excited to do that. But in the meantime, let's talk about a few things that have happened in the past week, because I've recorded a bunch of good videos, but that doesn't really count as like what's been happening, because, you know, you see the videos come out like sometimes a day after they're recorded, sometimes like a week depending on how long it takes to edit, but you see what's been happening in my video life the past week, I guess. So let's explain what's happened in my real life, I guess that's a good way to put it, because I finally started, you know, I've been vaguely doing it for a bit, but I finally started like properly, you know, going back on the whole, like, you know, I'm going to do a little bit of exercise kind of thing, because I bought some new shoes. They were particularly, you know, the shoes particularly designed for running. I wear them, they're called Ultra Boost if you care about shoes. I know some people are hugely into shoes. I'm not, I just like wearing things on my feet because society deems it necessary because of the awful world we live in. But no, basically, I like running shoes. They're super comfortable because think about it, they're designed for running. You know, they have the endurance designed for when you're hitting the ground that fast, that often, etc. They last a long time because runners wear their shoes like 5 hours a day or something for a year and need them to be solid, or 6 months at the very least. So if you're just wearing them for 1 hour a day for 2 years, they'll last just as long. It's genius. Buying running shoes is the best decision I've made in quite some time, and I figured, you know, I have some running shoes. I used to run in this local area because I live somewhere I used to live as a kid. Like, I bought a house and it just conveniently happened to be somewhere my parents used to have a house like a few years ago. So it's like, oh yeah, I used to run here as like a little bit of exercise. Let's try that again. Let's see if I can still do that. See, you know, compare past me to current me fitness. And yes, I've been doing a little bit of running just as like a, honestly, it's a really good zone out activity. Like, if things overwhelm you sometimes in life, which I'm sure most people in the modern age like would describe that happening to them some amount of the time, if things have overwhelmed you, I would say just like, you know, go for a run. Running is one of the best exercises. I think in terms of like, if you want to be like a fit dude. I think that's a phrase you can use, right? I'm not even sure. But if you want to be like super in shape or whatever, I know there's like some issues of like the way it gains muscle as a guy, and it's not. It's like, you know, like it's more of a weight loss thing than it is a like, you know, good thing for muscle gain. Again, if you are a guy, if you're a girl, it's meant to be wonderful for your physique. But you know, like that's a whole concern you might have if that's your thing. But if you just want to be like, you know, I don't care about, you know, any of this dietary nonsense. I just want to have an activity that makes your mind go down. I recommend running wholeheartedly. Listen to music or don't listen to music. Be alone with your thoughts, but while you're running, because it's almost like, okay, so you know how one of the best ways to deal with any situation is to kind of like be in a different mindset. I guess that's kind of one of the worst ways. In fact, memory is really good when you're in the same mindset all the time. This is why, you know, you always hear the people who are like, you know, what the trick is to just be really high when you do your when you study for your exams, and then also be really high when you do them. It's like, that is terrible advice. I always had people in like school tell me that, and it's like, man, I want to see what ends up with what your results end up as, because I cannot imagine that's going to be a positive strategy right there. But no, basically, let's start walking around the edges now. Basically, one of the things that I've kind of realized is that, you know, getting into a different mindset is a good way to help you address some problems, and that's something that I like with running. So yeah, running's something I've been doing a little bit, just as honestly, I have running shoes, and it's like, man, running shoes, again, they're expensive, but at least they like last. There's a lot of examples in the world of things that are more expensive up front, but cheaper over time, and I think shoes are the best example, because I used to have to buy, you know, new shoes like on such a regular basis. And at the point where you start buying the same shoes over and over again, that's when you know you've got to be like, yep, we are going too far on this one. Also, let's check the exact dimensions of this cube. So it goes from minus 346 on this side to, I guess, minus like 296, I would guess, if I had to. But 297, I guess it'd be, right? So 297. So the middle point of 297 and 346 would be what, like 23? I'm not sure. I think it would be 21 and 22. I don't know. I can't do that maths on the top of my head. Add 25. Yeah, add 25. Take away 25. So these 2 points are the middle points right here. It looks like I've almost done this perfectly. And now we're just going to have every other block be 2 bits of glowstone. I think that makes sense. And then the center, we have to make a cube. But again, we'll deal with that as we get to that. So yeah, this is just my strategy for keeping light inside the cube, even as we shut it off from the outside world. It should work. Who knows for sure though. So yeah, running, totally recommend it. Always like, you know, like drinking water. It's just like do that. Like if you're not drinking water right now, just do it. You know, like just why are you not drinking water? You should be drinking water. Whereas running's more like a, you know, if you have issues in your life and you don't ever know how to solve them, then maybe running's the solution. That's kind of where that falls on the spectrum of how much you really should do it. Because some people get into the mindset where they're like, everything that I do is the best thing for the world ever. Everyone needs to do this. And you see so many, particularly young people, I guess. You know, I'm going to call out other, you know, YouTubers who are like very young, you know, like low 20s too. And they're like, oh, I just discovered something amazing. Everyone needs to do this. So it's like, you know, everyone are new. They're different people, you know, like different people, different needs, etc. And that is why I'm going to bring this into now, the fact that I went to Paris this last weekend. So yeah, Paris is one of the most visited cities in the world. I believe even more by tourists than London, which, or I think it's France as a whole, but like still, it makes me kind of sad, a little bit jealous, a little bit bitter. And given that like, you know, English and French are kind of like rival languages, or used to be. I mean, English has won the war now, but they're kind of rival languages in the war for the global lingua franca. By the way, it's one of my favorite ironies that, like, even though English is the most widely spoken language, like, it's the language that brings people together if they don't, you know, if a Chinese person and a Japanese person speak together, that's a thing. So what it's called when a language works like that as the communication bridge, it's called a lingua franca. So the word to describe in English, you know, like how, you know, like what it is when a language is the most common, like English is a French word, which is the second most biggest lingua franca. I don't know, there's just something about that just like I can't quite get over. But yeah, so English is the lingua franca, and always have a funny issue. Oh, we're trying to speak French. I actually surprisingly know a decent amount of French though. Like I was like, ooh, you know, bonsoir, this, that, and I was like, hey, look, some of the French that I learned at some point, because I went on a really big French kick at one point, just apparently stuck in, and I've never had that happen before. Like, I know a fair amount of Swedish, but like, you just don't need Swedish, I guess, so it never really came up too much, and, you know, it's just one of those things. I was like, oh, as it turns out, you know, as it just so turns out, the French I learned at one point came in handy. How wonderful that is. So, Yeah, that's just, I like Paris a lot, it's interesting. But the thing that might interest you about my trip to Paris is not the fact that, you know, like, oh, they you know, spoke French there, or they had scooters, they had Lime, it was a whole fun thing. But it was that I went with an ex-girlfriend. And a lot of people, I mentioned it just in a stream, very offhandedly, I want to say, and a lot of people were just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, it was one of the things that caught most attention. Like, why would you go to Disneyland with your ex-girlfriend? And, you know, two reasons on this. One was, you know, we'd already booked the tickets. It kind of made sense to do it that way, right? Like, why would you not, I guess, is a better question. Like, if you've already got the tickets booked for something, unless you literally hate each other, and I wouldn't say I hate any ex-girlfriend of mine too much. I would say maybe there are disagreements with some, but, you know, I don't hate any ex-girlfriends, even the one that ghosted me that I mentioned before. So I was like, you know, let's do it. And I also figured, honestly, one of the things I like is interesting story pieces. A lot of comedians and stuff, what they just do is they kind of create stories from thin air. It's a really common thing, and I never liked that. I never liked that, like, some funny people, what they just do is they create stories, and it's like, well, you don't know if they're real or not, so why does it matter if they are? I've always, you know, been on the side of like, you know, I'd rather put myself in a few weird situations and have the stories come from that. And that's why I figured, you know, for this, gonna have to go to Disneyland, the ex-girlfriend. If something funny happens, it'll be great. And although I wouldn't say anything too tragic or anything like that happened, I would actually go as far as to recommend, you know, rather than going to Disneyland with your girlfriend, I would recommend going with an ex-girlfriend. Maybe even break up with your current girlfriend if you're planning to go to Disneyland. Because think of it, you're like, you know, Toy Cat, now you're just trying to say insane stuff because you think that's how YouTube works or something. But no, this is legit advice right here. Let's listen to this carefully. I think that, you know, because Disneyland, I personally like it. If you don't know, I think it has maybe a reputation, but like everyone loves Disneyland. You might be like, oh no, it's too cutesy, it's too this, it's like definitely meant for kids or for girls or whatever you don't like about it. But the truth is, Disneyland is just a better theme park than most theme parks are. If you like theme parks, you'll probably like Disneyland because it's some theme park garbage. Like, you know, they charged €8 for a hot dog or something, but it's most of the garbage that you usually expect from a you know, I guess from a theme park, you don't get at Disneyland, which I kind of like. Like, oh yeah, so you know, there's a fast pass system that's available for free. How nice. The waits in lines, they're like actually trying to entertain you. They're not just like you're waiting in this long queue for 60 minutes to go on a ride that takes a minute. Every ride has, at least a lot of them, are super long, which is cool too. There's a lot of things to love about Disneyland, is my basic point here, and but like, I like it as a theme park. It's a little bit of an expensive theme park, but it's one a lot of people go to like show a gesture. It's like, oh, I love you so much, I'll take you to Disneyland. But here's the thing, right? It's just a good theme park, and you know, I would say go to any theme park. Probably better with an ex-girlfriend than a regular girlfriend. And the reason for that is because theme parks are potentially stressful situations for any given relationship, because you're waiting in line for a really long time, just waiting in line, you know, like you've got to talk to each other, I guess, or whatever, but you don't have to. Yeah, there's lots of like stressful, mildly, you know, situations you kind of put in, and if you're like, you know, together, you're trying to impress them, you have to make that time good. If you don't entertain them during that time, or they don't entertain you, whichever way around your relationship works, then you're kind of like, you know, ruining, like 90% of your day at a theme park is waiting in line. And the idea that that's stressful, like, oh yeah, they want a Coke or they want to use the bathroom right now, which you can't actually do while you wait in the lines. Oh god, I'm surprised that's never hit me as an issue. But yeah, it's a whole thing. You gotta, if you want to make the day good, which you probably should, you want to control every aspect of the experience, make sure it's good. You can't really do that at Disneyland. You just accept that, like, oh yeah, there's gonna be some relationship testing issue, like, oh yeah, so we're 10 minutes towards the front of the line. She wants to use the bathroom. What are we gonna do? Oh no. Whereas that happens with, say, an ex-girlfriend or with someone who you're not so obliged towards, you'd be like, okay, you can go to the bathroom, and what I'll do is I'll go on the ride, and we'll meet at the end. That didn't happen to me, but like, you know, there's a lot of advantageous situations. You can see how bad the frame rate is in here, by the way. It's because of a bug regarding the things. I'm just here because I want to quickly finish off any little gaps in this that I do find. Although it seems as though there aren't any. It seems as though I finished all the gaps, which is good. Oh no, there's one last gap over here, and then once we do that, we're golden. Look at that. Or we're quite literally golden because it's a gold farm. Ha 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 ha. But no, let's get out there now. Let's finish the ceiling while I can still see. And let's just mention that, like, yeah, I think any situation where there's like mildly stressful like conflicts of like, what do? You're meant to do this, but you want to do that. Way better with someone who, because you know, most people, I would say most good friends, and most friends in general, you have no huge obligation towards. But there's some level where there's like an obligation of like, oh yeah, I'm going to help you on that. But it's like, but I want to wait, I want to go on the ride we've been waiting on, or stuff like that. There's a billion situations where it's going to be better. So I'm going to recommend my experience over your experience, and that is by going to Disneyland with the ex-girlfriend. Actually, was a surprisingly, I was expecting like some fun huge argument to come up, but then I figured, here's the best thing: you have a huge argument with your regular girlfriend during Disneyland. Oh man, that's a huge crisis. You have to resolve it. You sleep together, as in the same place, and you came in together. You got all your transport options arranged. Have an argument with your ex-girlfriend. Guess what? Like you don't even need to break up. You can just leave, and you can enjoy the rest of the day in the theme park, because that's what you're there to do. So minus 132, add 25, I guess, is minus 157. So as long as this lines up with that, I don't think it does line up with that. Well, this creates issues. So this is midway, and then this is midway plus minus 1. Yeah, it's meant to be these two blocks for the middle, I think. I think that's how that goes. So I could be horrifically wrong about this, but I'm going to go on a limb here. A little bit of a limb. And we're going to assume that there's another row of blocks before we get to this. So glowstone, glowstone. Don't know why I removed those blocks. Okay, let's try this again. So this is the middle right here instead. We'll put all the blocks and we'll look at it, but I think that's how this goes. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I had a good weekend, surprisingly. It was a really weird one, I guess, to describe to most people. But again, I like the idea of like having something that's a unique story. I'd rather go to the moon than go to I don't know, like let me pick a popular city, I guess. Like Barcelona. Like if you offered me those two opportunities, because you go to Barcelona, it's like, oh yeah, I went there last year. It's Spain, isn't it? Yeah, me too. I went to Spain. Whereas, you go to the moon, it's like, ooh, what was the moon like? And then, like usually, if you go to the moon, I reckon you'd have some stories to tell. Because I think interesting stories, fun stories, are like a really good thing to create. And it's better if you can create them authentically than not. And that's why that's what I like about YouTube actually. Like the whole like fake versus not fake thing. In my opinion, like YouTube is the potential to create a platform. I mean, a lot of YouTubers squander it entirely, but YouTube is a platform that can be so much realer than anywhere else because it is humans. And right now, at least, there's no pervasiveness of like, it's not network TV. It's not high budget stuff. It's like, oh yeah, these are some things that happened. This is how it's funny. This is how it be. And I'm not sure why YouTube is the platform for that. I'm not sure if there's something about it being free or like anything like that. But I love that YouTube's real. And now you understand why I went to Disney with my ex-girlfriend. Hopefully. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you think, hey Toy Cat, you didn't give any real explanations there. But side note actually, this is like a personal flawed defect or whatever. But I actually do often have this. Like sometimes when just hanging out with friends, sometimes in general, I just have a huge desire to just run away. Like, why am I involved in this? I'd rather be somewhere else right now. It happens like particularly when I'm like on a first date or something. I'm just like run. I've got many embarrassing stories I could tell sometime. But you can do that when you're with someone that you don't need to be with. Whereas if you're with a girlfriend and you run away in Disneyland, that's gonna cause problems for you for quite some time. But yeah, there you go, fun facts. Now you got my reasonings. Now you understand me. Now you understand that I have a flaw. I think it's like a fight or flight thing, right? But I don't like fighting, so I would say that I think fighting is a thing that isn't good, right? Is that a is that a controversial opinion? I don't know, maybe it is. But yeah, I've like this real issue where like sometimes I'll just decide, right now, this moment, I've got to be somewhere that's not here. And usually I think a lot of people describe this as like a thing of anxiety, but I wouldn't even say it's something like that. It's just like, I am out of situation things here. Or maybe it is some low form of that. But who knows for sure? That's just me talking about my thing. So let's talk about what else happened in Paris, because I could talk about Disneyland and ex-girlfriends all day. But I'm sure you don't come to watch me finish my netherrack cube just for me to talk about Disneyland. So let me talk about Paris as a whole, because if you live in a major American city, you probably have something called Lime or Boost, or there's a billion different things. But basically, a scooter rental app. So there's electric scooters. They put like thousands of them on the street, and you pay 15 cents, in this case Euro cents, but I think it's also US cents. You pay 15 cents a minute, and you get to ride this bike or this scooter, and it takes you all over the city. And this is a hugely interesting thing because, to me, the idea of just leaving hundreds of scooters everywhere, you know, it's foreign. Someone just came up with that one day, and someone was like, no, that's ridiculous, but they did it anyway, and it somehow worked. So I find that interesting just on that level, like, wow, yeah, even bad ideas can be good ideas, sometimes it seems. But I also find it interesting that, you know, like, there's just, so now this company is just littered all over the ground, and it's kind of not against the law, while kind of being against the law, while kind of being a good thing. And yeah, just it's been a huge, like, debate as to, like, should we allow this or not? It's the Uber problem, where they just got into a city so fast that now they're there, and the debate isn't whether they should allow them, it's whether they should disallow them. And it's a lot harder for a government to say, no, you can't do this thing you enjoy, than it is for a government to say, no, you can't do this thing that you might enjoy. At least that's my experience with the stuff. So yeah, a lot of countries have these scooters just all over their cities, and I used them in Paris the first time after hearing about them so much, and my god, they are fun. My god, I love these things. This is the future of transport right here. Like, the idea of everyone having a car, I think maybe this won't replace the car entirely, but the idea of in cities everyone having a car, it's so backwards. Cars are designed for places where there are spaces for cars. Cities do not have places for cars, at least in the UK. I know in America, like, it's like, it's called urban sprawl. There's a whole thing where, like, cities are designed to be super huge because everyone has a car and decides they need them even in cities. But yeah, no, it's a thing where, like, this makes the car look ridiculous for anything within a city. Like, use public transport or use a scooter. Why would anyone own a car when you could have one of these? And they're so much fun. Honestly, that's the big reason for me. They're fun and they're cheap. And it's super, super, like, I don't know, like, it's convenient. Like, you pick one up and you just go. It's an amazing thing. So, yeah, I love these little scooters. However, I would like to say they have some flaws. One is that if you can't find one, it's like, well, that's a thing. Past midnight, they all die in the batteries. I guess someone recharges them at night. But it's like, oh, they're dead, so now you can't get around, which at night is the safest time to use them. The second thing is that when you sign up for the app, it makes you promise, I will wear a helmet. I won't ride on the pavement. I won't do this. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, what do you think I'm actually going to do about this? In France, they're legal on the cycle lanes, and there's a fair few cycle lanes, so that's where I was mostly using them. But it's still a thing of, like, man, like, what? Sometimes, like, making people sign legal agreements they're not going to follow, it's just like, what is the point of this? Who are we fooling with this? I guess, it's a legal safety thing. But it's just one of those things where it's like, man, okay then, that's the whole thing. And the other issue in my head was just the whole thing of, like, I felt like I was close to dying several times, and because people weren't expecting me, maybe I should have rang my bell or whatever. Oh, that's what I totally should have done. I just realized on the spot, like, why didn't ring my bell? Like, people just wouldn't see me coming, and even though there's a huge light, it's like, man, you've got to, like, move or something like that. And if you ring the bell, though, it's going to, like, paralyze people, because that's what people do when they hear loud noises. It's just a whole problem where, like, people aren't used to seeing them yet, so people don't look out for them. And I had some Americans, like, just yell at me, like, get off get off the pavement. And I was like, I'm on the cycle lane. It looks like the pavement to you as an American and lives in a city where there are no bicycles, but there is a thing called a cycle path here where you're meant to, is it called yield or whatever? I have the priority here. I think you'll find, Americans in Paris. So, I don't know, just a mildly interesting little story right there. But I love these electric scooters. I even looked into getting one in the UK, but they're illegal here. Okay, this is the craziest thing. Electric scooters are not legal in the UK. If you would like to electrically scoot around, you are technically breaking the law. I don't know how well that's enforced, but it's a pretty serious breach if you are found. Okay, if you're on the pavement, you can get fined. If you're on the road, then legally you're meant to have, tax, insurance, etc. And it's like, well, I'm clearly not doing... the road seems unsafe, and the pavement is like, I don't know. It basically, long story short, is even though electric bikes are legal, electric anything else in the UK on the roads is illegal. Electric anything else on the pavements is super not legal. It's a whole problem, basically, long story short. And I've been looking into it and thinking, like, what are the odds that a policeman is even going to know it's electric? And I guess, I've been weighing up the pros and cons of that. Like, do I want to get in trouble with the law? Probably not. But are scooters fun? Yes. It's the whole thing I said earlier. Like, it's really, really, like, there's this funny, like, legal thing in your head where it's like, on the one hand, this can cause serious legal problems. And I don't want legal problems most of the time. On the other hand, though, fun. Also, you can see, I think the glowstone does a good job of keeping the place lit up. Obviously, it's going to get dark as we go towards the ground. So maybe, look, that makes a really cool wing effect. Maybe we should like place some glowstone on the walls. Actually, let's do it. Let's do a quick test run. I've got 10 glowstone. So we'll place some glowstone over here and over here, just to see how that looks. And then we'll do the same over here, I guess. And we'll see if that works well. And also we'll see if it lines up with the middle or not. Over there and over there. Is it the same level? Close enough, if not. So yeah, this does look like it's a perfectly centered cross in my opinion. I think we might need some more glowstone in the corners. And we might need some more glowstone nearer the floor, even though this is made from ice. But I think in general, we did a pretty good job today. Oh, you can't even sprint when the frame rate... Okay, you can. It takes a lot of effort. Oh, man, no, gosh. It takes a lot of effort to sprint though. So yeah, you can see, this is my ice gold farm. The ice is here because mobs can't spawn on ice, even though it's dark, which, you know, it will be, I guess, most of the time. They can't spawn here, but they can spawn on this stuff over here. So I guess I should probably work on this as a thing. But yeah, this is my gold farm. My gold farm is amazing. I hope you all enjoy this video where I built it all. I do have to light a few more portals, which I do have them installed ready for that. It's going to happen at some point, but for now, I've finished... Oh, did I go to sleep properly? Oh, it's just you can't see if it's daytime because it's so dark in here. That's a problem. That's a real problem right there. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, going over the netherrack cube, building the whole thing. Actually, you know what? Since we've now properly built everything, let's just make it so the only way in and out is that ladder. Let's just cement that up. There we go. It's 100% finished. Netherrack cube. I now have so much netherrack though, even beyond this, that I've got to work out some use for all of that. Also, why did I place this here? I have no recollection of doing this. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, doing that. Talking about the things that we usually do in this Let's Play. I am having a pretty good week actually, and I guess if I can leave you one piece of advice, if you have issues you can't quite work through in your head, or like they're like stressing you, you think about them all the time but you don't reach new conclusions, I would say go for a run and then think about them, because your body's in a whole different state. Honestly, one of the things about your mind you don't realize is how much your body affects your mind. Your mind is a controller of your body, but your body also affects your mind, which is interesting because therefore you can use your mind to control your mind. Literally, you can learn mind control, and all you gotta do is drink water and go for a run. Although, again, drink water, really, but only go for a run if that's, like, your thing. I don't know. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.